The rise of Ibrahim Traoré. The West never saw this coming. Captain Ibrahim Traoré, the bold and rising leader of Burkina Faso, is quickly becoming a symbol of resistance, revolution, and Pan-African empowerment. In this powerful video, we explore the unstoppable rise of Traoré and how his leadership is challenging Western dominance in Africa. From ousting neocolonial forces to forming powerful alliances with other anti-imperialist leaders, Traoré is rewriting the rules of leadership in West Africa, and the West is watching with unease. In this video, discover how Ibrahim Traoré became a revolutionary figure in Africa, the strategies he's using to assert African independence, his bold stance against Western interference, how Burkina Faso is leading a new Pan-African era, why African youth are rallying behind him as a symbol of hope. Traoré isn't just rising, he's redefining Africa's future, and the world is waking up to a movement that can't be ignored. How Ibrahim Traoré became a revolutionary figure in Africa. Ibrahim Traoré, born in 1988 in Bondakwi, Burkina Faso, emerged as a transformative figure through a combination of historical context, personal charisma, and bold actions. At 37, he is one of the world's youngest heads of state, a fact that resonates with Africa's youthful population. His journey from a shy, intelligent schoolboy to a military leader began with academic excellence at the University of Ouagadougou, followed by a military career marked by anti-aircraft training in Morocco and service with UN peacekeeping forces in Mali. Traoré's rise to prominence came in September 2022, when he led a coup against Lieutenant Colonel Paul-Henri Damiba, who had himself seized power earlier that year. The coup was fueled by public and military frustration over Damiba's failure to curb jihadist insurgencies, which had displaced over 3 million people and left the state controlling only about 60% of Burkina Faso's territory. Traoré, then 34, capitalized on this discontent, positioning himself as a leader committed to restoring security and sovereignty. Drawing inspiration from Thomas Sankara, Burkina Faso's iconic revolutionary leader, 1983 to 1987, Traoré has cultivated a Pan-Africanist image. Sankara, often called Africa's Che Guevara, championed self-reliance, women's rights, and anti-imperialism before his assassination in a coup linked to Western interests. Traoré's rhetoric, such as his 2023 Russia-Africa summit speech urging African leaders to reject imperialist control, echoes Sankara's defiance. His youth, military background, and outspokenness have led to comparisons with Sankara, though critics note differences in ideological depth. Social media has amplified Traoré's revolutionary persona. Viral TikTok edits portray him as a digital messiah, leading imaginary armies against Western empires, with captions like, "Africa's Messiah." This digital cult, fueled by AI-generated images and anti-Western sentiment, has spread his influence beyond Burkina Faso to countries like Kenya and South Africa. His attendance at Ghana's President John Mahama's January 2025 inauguration, where he received the loudest applause among 21 African leaders, underscores his continental appeal. Traoré's leadership reflects a broader political shift in West Africa, where a 2024 Afrobarometer survey showed declining support for democracy due to its failure to deliver jobs, education, and health. Ghanaian analyst Professor Kwesi Aining argues that Traoré is recapturing the spirit of post-independence leaders like Kwame Nkrumah, offering an alternative to disillusioned youth. However, his regime's crackdowns on dissent and journalists raise concerns about authoritarianism, complicating his revolutionary image. The strategies he's using to assert African independence. Traoré's strategies for asserting African independence blend economic reforms, geopolitical realignments, and cultural revival, rooted in a rejection of neocolonial structures. Key approaches include resource nationalization. Traoré has prioritized control over Burkina Faso's gold, a major export. His government nationalized mines and approved a state-owned refinery in November 2023, aiming to retain wealth domestically. Posts on X claim Burkina Faso's GDP grew from $18.8 billion to $22.1 billion between 2022 and 2025, though these figures lack official verification. Gold refineries and infrastructure projects signal a shift toward economic sovereignty. Rejection of Western financial institutions. Traoré has publicly rejected loans from the IMF and World Bank, calling them tools of neocolonial control. His statement, "Africa doesn't need the World Bank, IMF, Europe, or America," resonates with Africans frustrated by debt traps. Instead, he seeks partnerships with Russia, Turkey, and Iran, framing them as fairer alternatives. Military sovereignty. In 2023, Traoré expelled French troops and terminated military accords, ending a decades-long security relationship. He banned French media and diplomats, accusing them of destabilizing Burkina Faso. To address jihadist insurgencies, he mobilized the Volunteers for the Defense of the Homeland, VDP, and sought Russian support, though critics argue this trades one dependency for another. Regional alliances. Traoré spearheaded the Alliance of Sahel States, AES, with Mali and Niger, withdrawing from ECOWAS in 2024 to form a bloc focused on mutual defense and economic cooperation free from Western influence. The AES's 0.5% tariff on external goods aims to boost interregional trade, though it may strain ties with ECOWAS members like Ghana. Cultural decolonization. Traoré banned British legal wigs and gowns in courts, replacing them with traditional Burkinabe attire to restore cultural pride. He also dropped French as an official language, promoting local languages to assert national identity. Agricultural self-sufficiency. Traoré's investments in agriculture have reportedly increased tomato production from 315,000 to 360,000 metric tons, millet from 907,000 to 1.1 million, and rice from 280,000 to 326,000 between 2022 and 2024. These efforts aim to reduce food import dependency, a key pillar of economic independence. His bold stance against Western interference. Traoré's anti-Western stance is a cornerstone of his leadership, framed as a fight against neocolonial exploitation. Key actions and rhetoric include expulsion of French forces. In January 2023, Traoré gave French troops 1 month to leave, ending Operation Sabre, a 400-member counter-terrorism mission. He accused France of using terrorism to destabilize Burkina Faso and exploit its wealth. Criticism of imperialist powers. Traoré has accused Western nations of orchestrating coups and insurgencies to maintain control over African resources. In a July 2024 AES summit, he stated, "We are victims of our wealth, which imperialists want to take back to keep us in slavery." His 2023 Russia-Africa summit speech called African leaders puppets of the West, urging them to prioritize sovereignty. Response to Western criticism. When U.S. AFRICOM Commander General Michael Langley alleged in April 2025 that Traoré was using gold reserves for personal protection, Traoré supporters rallied in Ouagadougou and globally, accusing the U.S. of smearing him. The junta's claim of foiling a coup plot linked to Ivory Coast, where Langley visited, fueled perceptions of Western interference. Media bans. Traoré banned French media like France 24, accusing them of promoting Western narratives. He argues that Western media misrepresents African autonomy as falling under Russian influence. Geopolitical realignment. Traoré's pivot to Russia, including reopening the Russian embassy and securing Russian troops for his protection, is framed as a rejection of Western dominance. However, critics argue this risks new dependencies. Citing alleged Wagner Group ties, Traoré's stance has galvanized supporters but drawn Western hostility. The US and France fear losing influence in the Sahel, while Traoré's defiance amplifies anti-Western sentiment across Africa. His survival of multiple coup attempts, allegedly linked to foreign interests, strengthens his narrative of resisting imperialist plots. How Burkina Faso is leading a new Pan-African era. Under Traoré, Burkina Faso is positioning itself as a vanguard of a new Pan-African era, reviving the ideals of unity, self-reliance, and sovereignty championed by leaders like Nkrumah and Sankara. Key elements include Alliance of Sahel States, AES. The AES, formed with Mali and Niger, aims to create a confederation free from Western control. Traoré's 2025 New Year address described the Confederation of Sahel States, CSS, as a model for African unity and development. The AES's exit from ECOWAS and G5 Sahel reflects a rejection of Western-backed frameworks. Economic nationalism. Burkina Faso's gold nationalization and agricultural reforms inspire other African nations to prioritize resource control. Mali and Niger have adopted similar anti-Western policies, signaling a regional shift. Cultural revival. By banning colonial symbols and promoting local languages, Traoré is fostering a Pan-African identity rooted in cultural pride. These symbolic acts resonate with movements across Africa seeking to decolonize institutions. Inspiring regional leaders. Traoré's defiance has influenced leaders in Mali, Niger, and Guinea, who echo his anti-imperialist rhetoric. South Africa's economic freedom fighters, EFF, praised Traoré's resistance against neo-colonial pressures. His speeches are cited by Tanzanian and Kenyan officials, signaling a continental ripple effect. Global Black solidarity. Traoré's message of liberation connects with the African diaspora and global Black communities. Rallies in London and endorsements from African-American rapper Meek Mill highlight his appeal among those who relate to his anti-colonial narrative. However, Burkina Faso's leadership faces challenges. The ongoing jihadist insurgency, with 51% of global terrorism deaths in the Sahel in 2024, undermines stability. Traoré's crackdowns on dissent and forced conscription of critics raise concerns about civic freedoms. While Burkina Faso inspires Pan-Africanism, its economic and security struggles test its ability to sustain this role. Why African youth are rallying behind him as a symbol of hope. African youth, with a median age of 19.7 across the continent, see Traoré as a symbol of hope due to his youth, defiance, and vision for change. Key reasons include youthful leadership. At 37, Traoré represents a break from Africa's often geriatric leadership. His energy and relatability resonate with a generation frustrated by elites. His decision to forego a presidential salary for a modest army income enhances his image as a selfless leader, anti-imperialist stance. Youth disillusioned by poverty in resource-rich Africa relate to Traoré's critique of Western exploitation. His expulsion of French troops and rejection of IMF loans align with their desire for sovereignty. Social media amplifies this, with posts calling him the Lion of Africa. Cultural pride. Traoré's promotion of Burkinabe attire and languages inspires youth seeking to reclaim African identity. His actions counter the narrative that Western systems are superior. Economic progress. Claims of GDP growth and agricultural gains, though unverified, fuel optimism that African leaders can deliver without Western aid. Youth see Traoré as proof that self-reliance is possible. Digital amplification. Social media platforms like TikTok and X portray Traoré as a revolutionary hero, with viral content spreading his message to millions. Endorsements from figures like Ghanaian rapper Sarkodie and global rallies on April 30, 2025, amplify his appeal. However, Traoré's support is not universal. His regime's repression of journalists and opposition voices alienates some, and the humanitarian crisis, with millions displaced, tempers optimism. Critics warn of a cult of personality, urging youth to support the mission, not the man. Conclusion: Ibrahim Traoré has become a revolutionary figure by channeling Sankara's legacy, leveraging social media, and addressing youth disillusionment with democracy. His strategies: resource nationalization, rejecting Western finance, military sovereignty, regional alliances, cultural decolonization, and agricultural reforms, assert African independence but risk isolation and new dependencies. His bold anti-Western stance, exemplified by expelling French troops and criticizing imperialist powers, has made him a target of Western scrutiny but a hero to many Africans. Burkina Faso's leadership in a new Pan-African era through the AES and economic nationalism inspires the continent, though security and governance challenges persist. African youth rally behind Traoré for his youth, defiance, and vision, amplified by digital platforms, but must remain vigilant against authoritarian risks. His legacy will depend on balancing revolutionary ideals with tangible progress.